So, what can I tell you today about whiskey? Well, I want to start with a story in honor of our whiskey of the day. My father, who was an amazing psychologist, also served in World War II. He was a navigator, bombardier, and interesting spot on the plane regardless. And he once told me an amazing story about the problem with the, what is it, B-17?
I think so, yeah. B-17.
B-17. Okay, I can start over.
Just keep going.
Okay. The problem with the B-17 is that in order to trip the bombs, there was a small catwalk that went in between the hanging bombs. Dad's job, because of where he was sitting as navigator, was that if a bomb got stuck, he had to take off his parachute, walk across the small catwalk, as he used to say, lean over into the void, grab something, any piece of metal he could, and trip the bomb. Rather harrowing experience. One day he also had to throw tinsel out the bomb bay doors to distract from the strafing. One day he was sitting down there throwing out tinsel, and his seat was strafed. And this little piece of shrapnel was in his chair. And I'm not sure exactly why I got gifted this little piece. It is my most precious thing. I care very little about material things. But many years ago, in 2005, my family experienced a house fire. And since everybody got out and the dog and the cat were alive, I really didn't care about the stuff. And so I had forgotten that the piece of shrapnel was in my jewelry box. Dad died that summer while we were out of the house. When we got home in the spring, I had kind of realized I had lost my piece of shrapnel. But as I walked along the sidewalk, this was 8.5 months later, there, sparkling in the dirt, was Dad's piece of shrapnel. And so my dad has always been a very important figure to me. He always kind of is with me. And so today's whiskey is the Big Stick. But it also has the motto, Semper Fi. We have Odin, warrior figure, on the front. But the Big Stick is produced in Jacksonville, Florida. And definitely a military background. And it is proofed at 95. It's at 95 proof, which of course is 47.5% alcohol. The only thing I do not like right now about it is I believe they have the filter there to keep the wood and any wood particles out of your whiskey, which is a good thing. It just doesn't pour quite as nicely as a typical whiskey. But beautiful, beautiful color. So an engineer and his friend, who both have a military background, put this together, and it's a very unique whiskey. Notice we have a charred American oak whiskey stave in the bottle. Only one I've ever seen that does this. So instead of it being finished in oak barrels, it's also finished on oak staves. So the theory behind this is that you should get more of a double oaked bourbon flavor. Most of the reviews I've read of it say that it's rather smooth. I always find whiskey notes kind of intriguing. When I drink whiskey, I actually taste whiskey. I will not expound on all the other tastes that I might taste, but comments that have been made about the Big Stick whiskey is that you can taste clove, you can taste caramel, you can taste citrus, you can taste, goes pretty far out there. Spearmint, which of course I would never put spearmint and clove together in my spices, but vanilla wafers it's compared to, and cream soda. So I don't look for those flavors, but that's what they're talking about. Now, most of the people, again, that have reviewed this have said it's very smooth. I love the color. If you are not aware of this regarding whiskey, the darker it is, the more interactions had with the wood. So it does have a lovely color. Some whiskeys are a little pale. I like mine rich. Now, I know that some people say it's very, very smooth. It kind of hits me at the back of the throat, up at the top of my mouth. Really like that flavor. I like whiskey kind of to get my attention. And I kind of like, their other motto that they go with is go big or go home. And so I kind of hope that's what they were going for, is not a real wishy-washy whiskey. I think they achieved it. I will say this, yeah, I really do like it. I'm always gonna have an extra bottle here on reserve in case I don't like it. This one is really very palatable. If you don't like whiskey, my theory about whiskey tasting is this: if you don't like it, it's not good whiskey. If you want to buy an expensive bottle of whiskey and somebody tells you it's great, you have to decide if you're going to drink it. Some people believe that if you don't like it, you should add some water, and it opens it up a different way. I'm kind of a purist. I like to drink my whiskey straight. If I don't like the whiskey, well, there is a wonderful thing to do with whiskey if you don't like whiskey, and that is, if you cook it all, you can plump dried fruit with whiskey. So if you run into a bottle that you don't like, it makes a mean scone. Whiskey plumped dried fruit really excels in a scone. But this one I think is a pretty worthy whiskey. They also, the bottle, which I think they could have gone a little bit farther with this, they actually worked on the design of the bottle to bring it in a little bit. It's supposed to sort of demonstrate the military uprightness, sort of like a military belt here in the middle. Also, they went with a lot of, the trim that you would see on a military uniform. But the 95 proof is critical for their whiskey. It's symbolic of the fact that they give 5% back to military charities. And so on their website, they have the charities that they are giving to. And so it's a really wonderful whiskey. Sometimes people try to do things with, celebrities or causes, and they kind of fall short. But I think they've got a pretty good whiskey here. It's a bourbon whiskey, which of course we don't know anything about their mash bill. They have not published their mash bill, but we do know that if it's a bourbon whiskey, it has to be at least 51% corn. So that much we do know about it. I'm going to keep tasting whiskey with you, and if you want to join me every now and again, I am the Dram Druid. Thank you.